Hello there, just thought I'd jump on and make a presentation video which is going to cover a lot of the evidence I've been talking about over the last year on my YouTube channel. Now, a lot of this evidence is official evidence and data and telemetry data, which I think is really important for people to know. And as usual, I'm not telling anybody what to think, and I'm not suggesting too much in this video because of YouTube's community guidelines, so I have to be careful. So let's get underway and I'll just get on with it and go through some of this evidence and hopefully build a bit of context and pull it all together. So I'm not going to read out the title there because that is too sensitive to read out on YouTube, but let's go to point one. None of the four aircrafts activated an emergency locator transmission at the times of the four crashes. So this is a fact. There's no evidence, no official evidence to prove that ELTs were reported at the time of the planes when they impacted their targets. Number two, all four aircrafts were still airborne after the alleged crashes, according to official telemetry data. Okay, so just swiftly moving on. What are emergency locator transmitters? So the emergency locator transmitters, known as ELT, are emergency transmitters that are carried aboard most general aviation aircraft in the US. In the event of an aircraft accident, these devices are designed to transmit a distress signal on 121.5 and 2430 MHz frequencies. ELTs are mounted in the airplane and designed to be triggered upon impact, or may be manually activated using the remote switch and control panel indicator in the cockpit. I shall come back to that point that I've highlighted there about ELTs being manually activated. Activation of the ELT triggers an audio alert, and 406 MHz ELTs transmit GPS position for search and rescue emergency locator transmitters, AOPA. That's where I got the information, and the source is there for anybody who would like to go and read more about those. So this is a picture just to highlight where the ELTs would be situated on a 767 or large twin engine aircraft. So this is a Honeywell emergency locator Rescue 406 model. So none of the four planes had no ELTs activated at the times of the four crashes. So just reiterating this point, AA11, UA175, AA77 and UA93 had no emergency locator transmission activated at the time of the alleged crashes. This is also established in the NTSB final report, which I covered a couple of weeks ago. Two ELTs were reported in New York by the pilot of US 583 to the air traffic control at 8:44, which is 2 minutes before AA11 allegedly crashed. And the second ELT was reported at 8:58 AM, which is 4 minutes too early before UA175 allegedly crashed. Neither of the early ELT signals could have originated from AA11 or AA175 because it is not possible to activate an ELT in a Boeing 767 aircraft. Now that's the point I wanted to come back to about being able to manually activate an ELT in a Boeing 767. Now this came from Paul Thumser, which I've spoke about in the past. So just to reiterate this point with Mr. Thumbser, who is an experienced ex-pilot, a radar operator who is on record in the 9/11 Commission unclassified sensitive documents released by Freedom of Information Act in 2009, clarifying that the pilot cannot manually activate an ELT in a Boeing 767 aircraft. Both AA11 and UA175 were Boeing 767s. So I'm hoping that sort of clarifies that point, because that is an important point. And here is the document where Paul Thumbser is quoted. He also talks about parameters of the ELT being set off due to a hard turn or hard landing aren't credible. He covers that because the settings of the ELTs are quite low. So, as I said in the past, imagine your car alarm. When they're set too high, if a bus goes past and just rocks the car slightly, it will set the alarm off. We've all probably heard that sometimes, or the wind. So they get reset to quite low parameters, so they're not affected by the vibration or wind. So just moving on. All 4 planes were still airborne. So AA11 was reported as still being airborne on the NORAD communication recordings after the alleged crash and heading towards Washington. The lat-long coordinates they gave for AA11 showed that AA11 was 5.77 miles past the North Tower, plus the plane was identified by tail number also. So we know it was AA11. So this is the recording I'm talking about, and I'm just going to play it. Hopefully we can pick it up.
Military Boston Center just had a report that American 11 is still in the air and it's on its way heading towards Washington.
Okay, American 11 is still in the air?
Yes,
on its way towards Washington?
There was definitely another aircraft that hit the tower. That's the latest report we have.
Okay.
I'm going to try to confirm an ID for you, but I would assume he's somewhere over either New Jersey or somewhere further south.
Okay, so American 11 isn't a hijack at all then, right?
No, he is a hijack.
American 11 is a hijack?
Yes.
And he's going into Washington?
This could be a third aircraft.
Okay, third aircraft hijack heading towards Washington. No. Okay, American Airlines is still airborne. 11, the first guy, he's heading towards Washington. Okay, I think we need to scramble Langley right now, and I'm gonna take the fighters from Otis and try to chase this guy down if I can find him. Yeah. You sure? He has MCC. Okay, he's heading towards Langley, or I should say Washington. American 11, the original guy, he's still airborne. We're still getting a. We're getting a position. Got a position.
A couple of hijacks on the real world. Gotta go.
Okay. Foxy, scramble Langley, head him towards the Washington area.
Roger that.
Could be American.
Hold on a second.
We're trying to get a code on this guy right now. We do have a tail number. It's a. What was the tail number? November 334 Alpha Alpha. If we can find him, we're trying to get to mode. We're trying to get position on this guy. So then we'll run on him. Yep. Okay. Bye. Okay.
This is Huntress calling. I was told to give you a buzz for our mission crew commander. Any information? I guess 3 aircraft out of Boston are missing, and apparently 2 of them have hit the World Trade Center, and 1 is en route to Washington. Did you get that information? Yes. American 11 is not the aircraft that crashed. It is still airborne. Did you get that information? That's what we just found out. We don't know where it is, though. It's headed towards Washington was the last known information.
Washington better get on the move. Any of them up there.
Open line. Huntress ID, unsecure line.
Huntress ID, this is Washington Center, the operations manager.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I guess you had called here a couple times. You never talked to me, but if there's anything you need or anything I can help you with, let me know what it is right now, please.
Okay, do you want me to let you know what we have going on, sir?
I would, yes. Well,
Okay.
I have a pretty good idea, but yes.
Okay, the 3 aircraft missing out of Boston. I just spoke with Boston, and they said that they're not sure of the 3rd aircraft call sign, but they do have 2. One of them is United 175.
Uh-huh.
The other one is American 11.
Right.
They thought that the American 11 was the aircraft that crashed into the World Trade Center with the United 175. However, American 11 is not the aircraft that crashed. He said the pilot on American 11 was talking to him, having a rough time telling him what's going on. There was threats in the cockpit being made. This was the initial hijack information that we got, American 11767 from Boston to Los Angeles. Proposed route, he was headed towards JFK at the time that they lost contact, but that was not the aircraft headed into the World Trade Center that hit it.
Okay.
That's what Boston's saying. The last known, and I'm not sure where we heard it through the grapevine, people calling, is that American 11 was headed towards Washington, and that's the only thing.
Was headed toward where?
Washington.
Okay.
So your AOR, and I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
The last known lat long that we had, primary target only was 4038 north, 07403 west on American 11.
Right, there we have it. That was a video put together using the NORAD tapes. So just moving on, as we can see, that was official evidence. It has been tried to play down, but it does not. The story that we've been told does not fit with the evidence that is available. And this is official evidence, by the way. So moving on to UA175. So UA175 was also still airborne and receiving aircraft communications, and this was through the addressing and reporting system ACARS messages sent to the plane from ground stations in Pittsburgh and Harrisburg after the plane had allegedly crashed. Pittsburgh and Harrisburg are nowhere near New York. This shows the plane did not make a turn and head back towards the South Tower and crash. So again, this is telemetry data, which is really contradictive. Now, this is a map here showing one of the messages, which was received at 8:59. Now we know apparently a UA175 crashed, or we're told it crashed at 9:03. So this is just under 4 minutes, or 4 minutes from the crash. So 175 is located there, and the ACARS message was picked up over here. Now this is something we wouldn't be expecting, because with an ACARS ground station you have a radius, and it would be routed to, for example, that possibly could be routed to that plane there, 93, rather than, you know, something like this where 175 is out the radius of the ground station. You know, we'd expect it more along these areas. Plus we have these ground stations here which are closer to 175, so why wasn't it routed through these ground stations? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And here we have the second message, which was at 9:03 and 17 seconds, which is 6 seconds after UA175 had crashed. So it's sent a message and received after the flight had crashed from this ground station in Harrisburg, I think it was. So again, this makes no sense whatsoever, and you cannot send an ACARS message and have it received when a plane's crashed on that magnitude and is obliterated. So what it's suggesting is the plane was in this vicinity and not over here. So that's what the evidence is suggesting, that 175 would have been around here, this radius, and not over here. So it more than likely continued flying onwards around this vicinity. So we know United 175 was captured on MSNBC News at 10:25, and it shows Flight 175 was still airborne over Connecticut. Now, this was captured when they showed the Flight Explorer program live on TV news, and it was done to show how many planes were still in the air at that time, because they'd done the ground stop and they were just bringing that up using the software of Flight Explorer, which is real-time software in conjunction with the FAA. So just moving on. So I'm going to play the video, hopefully it plays.
We've just received word that all inbound international flights to the United States are being diverted to Canada. The government will not allow them to land here in the U.S. They are being diverted to Canada. As we've been reporting, all airports in the U.S. have shut down departures. We were watching on our Flight Explorer. I don't know if we can put it on the air right now. This is a system in which we can actually look at the number of airplanes in the air. Normally, this would be dotted with little blue airplane figures. Look at how few we're looking. It looks like only 3 over the immediate New York City metropolitan area. Just a handful. Airplanes in the air are being allowed to land at their destinations, and then that is it. Now, keep in mind, the planes you're looking at here are only those that are participating in the FAA radar system, airliners. This does not include anybody in a small Cessna or a small plane who might be flying what's called VFR traffic, where they're just flying below the commercial traffic. But again, these represent commercial airplanes, or airplanes that are participating in the FAA system. Just a handful in the skies over the Northeast right now. Greg, Chris?
Watching continuing NBC News coverage on MSNBC of...
So there we have it. It was hovered over on there with the cursor live on air, and just going to bring this picture in. We can see it there, Flight 175 UAL, which is United Airlines 175. It was at 310, and it says 310 by 439, and it's a Boeing 767. The people get mixed up with this B762, which you've got there. That means Boeing 767-200 model. We have the Boston 8:15 AM, which is when we're told Flight 175 took off and its destination arrival was 1:44 p.m. So this is damning evidence, folks. It was over Connecticut at 10:25, still airborne, didn't crash. This is a blow up I did to try and enhance it, the original there. You can see that's 175. I've looked in the BTS for United Airlines flights, and there's none that really match that number. That you could say it's this number. Even if somebody tried to say it was 179, there's no flights that match that number. And you can see here that that's a 5, that's a 7, that's a 1. When I inverted the colours to bring it up a bit more. So damning evidence, folks. So moving on to AA77. Now, AA77 was captured as still being airborne as well on the DCC radar evidence, which I spoke about last year. That was released under a Freedom of Information Act, which shows that AA77 did not turn around on the Kentucky and Ohio border, as we were told, but continued on and flew over Missouri and St. Louis Airport towards Kansas before making a turn heading back towards Missouri before disappearing off radar. So let's just see that. Now, this is courtesy of 9/11 Maps, who plotted all the coordinates that's in the DCC radar data, and I have covered the difference in the coordinates in 2 different sets of data. But this is the path it took. Didn't turn round and head back, continued on over Missouri and St. Louis Airport towards Kansas, then headed back and then sort of headed back again. So it's sort of circling around that area by the look of it. So this is the person who plotted the 4 PDF files for each aeroplane, and in the process revealed the anomaly with AA11 flight path in the DCC 1739 radar track data. There's a link to that. Anybody like it? Another link there. But it was not only shown there, but we have the day after 9/11. We got Flight Explorers shown again of American Airlines Flight 77, showing it did not turn round at Kentucky Ohio border on CNN News the day after. And we can clearly see, and I've got a video of this, instead of turning round, it actually continues on, and it's still green before turning red, which is when transponders would have been switched off. So moving on to United 93. Just before that, let's just sum up. So 3 aircraft still airborne. That's the evidence, and that's the data, official data that's showing that. So moving on to 93. UA93 was still airborne according to ACAR's messages, which show United 93 was flying over Champaign, Illinois, near Chicago, which is approximately 500 miles away from Pittsburgh. This is also corroborated by Colonel Marr in the 9/11 Commission sensitive documents, who said UA93 was circling over Chicago. So we'll move on and just show that. So this is the ACARs. Again, these are all the ACAR stations dotted around. We're told that United 93 crashed here. So it received a message at 10:11 AM, which is apparently 7 minutes after, or 8 minutes after Flight 93 had crashed, and it was picked up over here, Champaign, Illinois, which is nowhere near this crash site. And you had all these ACARs stations, which, if it was going to route it, would have routed through this area here. So it's telling us that the flight was in this vicinity. And Colonel Marr was picking it up over it, who testified that it was he's seen it circling over near Chicago or over Chicago, which I'll bring that up now. This is in the commission document here. Marr told the commission staff that his focus was on U93, which was circling over Chicago. So there we have it, Chicago there, which is picked up in the ground station here. So we know that this particular, emphasise this particular Flight 93 was over here. Didn't turn round. However, we have another strange anomaly with this flight, which is very interesting. So another strange anomaly is the air traffic controls last coordinate, or coordinates placed U93 15 miles past the crash site in Shanksville. So proving that it could not have crashed at the site. So this piece of evidence shows that it did not crash at the site. It was still airborne 15 miles past the crash site. And this is the document here. And this is where it's stated the precise lat long. You're probably getting now asking the question, why is it over Chicago and why is it 15 miles past the crash site? And that's a very good question. But I'll just bring this map up here. There's the crash site. There's the coordinate, 15 miles past the crash site. Precise coordinate put in there. Also, Linda Justice stated in official communication recordings that U93 was flashing over Hagerstown, which is 68 miles past the crash site in Shanksville, PA. So, we've got Linda Justice here.
Northwest 1271 India altitude, maintain flight level 250. Potomac.
Pull up United 93. He's flashing at Hagerstown. Okay? I believe that you will hear about that plane shortly.
I'll take care.
Okay? No idea on destination and or altitude. We just put the routing in for a good guess.
Okay, I didn't.
Okay?
I did the United 93. Just a minute, let me try that again. United 93. Gotcha.
Got it. Thank you. Yes, what's more on?
United 93 has just been a reported altitude by another aircraft at about 8,000 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Right,
United.
So there we have it. That's Linda Justice saying that United 93 was flashing over Hagerstown. There is also an anomaly with the message that followed that, which was saying that United 93 was at 8,000 feet. Now that is also an anomaly because on Flight Explorer, which shows United 93, it was actually at 35,000 feet. So how can you have a plane at 35,000 feet and then somebody reporting it at 8,000 feet? So very, very strange. Again, all contained in official evidence there. So, United 93 changed its flight plan again to Reagan National Airport, which is confirmed by many mainstream media sources. And to lend further weight to United 93 still being airborne, United 93 was shown on FlightAware as having landed at Reagan National Airport at 10:28. So there we have it, Reagan National Airport there, and this is from 2013, this screenshot. Having to say that it was updated to the official narrative, let's say, not long after. But we're going to look at this flight plan now, which was on CNN. This is at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe.
and then disappeared off the radar screens right here outside of the Pittsburgh area, a place called Shanksville. We don't know what happened there. What's kind of odd about this one, Joey, is that at some point after flying past Pittsburgh, the pilot apparently radioed and changed his destination to DCA, which is Ronald Reagan National Airport. Unclear what that means. Now let me just kind of put this all onto one graphic, if you will.
So there you have it. Changed its destination. We have another
going to California.
Report here.
He was right. Dateline obtained radar data showing the path of United Flight 93. A little more than an hour into the flight, it makes a sharp turn off course near Cleveland, Ohio. Radio communication is switched off. Dateline has also been able to confirm that a new flight plan was filed from on board, perhaps by a fourth hijacker, identified today as a pilot. Destination, Reagan International Airport. The plane was now on a direct course for Washington, D.C.
So there we have it. So as I said, it landed at 10:28 a.m. And I also have an Excel spreadsheet from Reagan National Airport, also confirming it landed at 10:28. So here, just to go back to the this slide here. So here's Hagerstown. So we know it was at 15 miles past the crash site, and we know it was headed to Hagerstown. So this is really damning evidence, folks, that we have two flights that were identifying as United 93. One was over Champaign, Illinois, which is 500 miles away from Pittsburgh, and we have the other plane heading towards Washington, which never crashed at the site. And we're on record there. How do we know? We go back to the ELTs. How do we know they never crashed at any other sites? It's because we had no emergency locator transmitters that were activated at the times of any of the four crashes. I cannot emphasise that enough. That is confirmed in the NTSB final report. No ELTs at the time of impact of any of the four crashes. And here we have another acknowledgement to that. Seoul has no knowledge of the Skalinsky helicopter or of ELTs on 9/11. And I think what Seoul's referring to there, the helicopter, there was a report that a helicopter had crashed into the North Tower. So he may be referring to that, but he definitely is referring to ELTs on 9/11. No knowledge of any ELTs on 9/11. And that's Steve Seoul. So, just to conclude this presentation, planes that are still airborne after the alleged crashes means no ELTs would have been activated. The official evidence shows all four aircrafts were still airborne at the time of the alleged crashes on 9/11, so it stands to reason that there were no ELTs activated. So I'd just like to thank everybody for watching. I hope we've discussed some of the evidence which has been a bit fragmented, and I've brought it together a little bit. Still working on this presentation for the future, and I shall be adding more to it, and hopefully I've got another presentation lined up which I will be sharing soon on my channel. So thanks to all my subscribers, thanks to everybody who comments and likes and shares any videos. It is truly appreciated. Like I've said in the past, we're all on this journey for the truth and studying evidence, and this is official evidence right here. So thank you all, and until next time, have a great day all. Bye for now.